And an update on former President George H.W. Bush the 41st, after he fell and broke a bone in his neck last night. A spokesman says it happened at President Bush's summer home in Kennebunkport in Maine. A spokesman says Bush 41 is doing okay and is going to need a neck brace. The spokesman says the plan is to let the injury heal on its own without surgery. President Bush the 41st is 91 years old now. He has a form of Parkinson's disease and uses a motorized scooter or a wheelchair to get around from time to time. Back in December, he spent about a week in the hospital for shortness of breath, as it was described to us. Well, his granddaughter, Jenna Bush Hager, has sent out a tweet today, and she said, always touched by kindness. Thanks for all of your thoughts plus prayers for our dear Gamps, which is what she calls her grandfather, the 41st president. We are optimistic that he will heal well, and doctors seem to be as well. The White House says that President Obama called the former president today to wish him a speedy recovery. President Bush the 43rd spoke with him, said that he sounded strong. And Dr. Marc Siegel, who's an associate professor of New York University's Langone Medical Center, has been in touch with the family and their representatives as well. What do you know?
Well, Shepard, he's actually very lucky in a certain way, which is that he didn't suffer any neurological deficits. He's moving his arms and legs. He never blacked out. He didn't have a concussion. But what he has is a C2 fracture, and that's in a worrisome area. It's right about here. There's seven vertebrae up here in the upper spine. His is in the second one. Generally, if it was a younger patient, they might consider operating. They might consider a halo, which is that thing, you know, with the screws that you see into someone's head. 91 years old, they're going to try to use a hard brace over several weeks to see if it heals. And the chances are it probably will heal. They'll keep checking with x-rays to make sure. And the other issue here is the man's indomitable spirit. My experience in medical practice is when you are like him, you heal. He's never given up. He won't give up.
He is a very strong man for his age. People who jump out of the helicopter, out of planes at 80 and 85 years old, well, that speaks for itself largely.
Absolutely. The one thing that isn't strong at that age, by the way, are the bones themselves, because they're not as calcified, they're not as sturdy. That's why a fracture like this will occur, and it's also why it will take longer to heal. So it's got to be watched very carefully. And it's easy to fall when you have Parkinson's also, even if you're in a wheelchair.
Do we know how the fall happened, as the family said?
Just that in the course of regular activity, it happened as he was transferring from one place to another.
And
did not black out and did not hit his head in any hard way. His spokesperson said that as far as he knows, he didn't even hit his head. He just hit his neck.
And that's what caused the break of that C2 there.
Because it's more prominent and more available to be fractured.
They're very clear to say they're not going to talk specifics of timelines. Maybe they don't even know them yet. What would you think?
Well, actually, Jim McGrath, the spokesperson, said to me that he does believe he'll be home from the hospital in a few days. So the hospital says, you know, the hospital's not going to give you a timeline. He believes he'll get fitted for the brace, and knowing who he is, he'll be home in the next couple of days.
Well, you talk about that indomitable spirit. Some people will say, oh, that doesn't really mean anything. History tells me it does.
Mind over matter is what promotes healing. But of course, he's got to watch out for other things. He'll be more immobile than he usually is. He could have blood clots. They've got to really watch that. How are they going to feed him while he's in the brace? How's he going to eat? You know, but he's not lost consciousness, no concussion. I think it bodes very, very well for a full recovery.
Well, everybody who's ever known Bush the 41st loves him like a father or a brother or whatever you happen to be, grandfather. And all the best to him and the Bush family.
My prediction, age 95, jumps out of a helicopter again.
I hope you're right, Dr. Siegel. It's great to see you.
Great to see you, Shep.